Hello and welcome to a very special edition of Obabble Scribbler podcast. Today I am joined by the illustrious principal cast of Rocket to Insanity, the full comic dub, which was a multi-part series that ran on this channel through October and December of last year. Rocket to Insanity was one of the biggest projects on my channel, therefore I have assembled this illustrious group of people and we're going to do a podcast about the story, what inspired it, our performances, and generally, as the last hour before we actually got around to recording this show is generally shit-talking. I am joined by Illya Leonov. Hello, Illya.
Hello. I am Illya Leonov, sometimes known as Morgan Freepony, and I played the character Parthus.
I am also joined by I Am Shadow 007. Hello, Shadow.
Hello, this is I Am Shadow 007, and I play Pinkie Pie / Pinkamina in Rocket to Insanity.
I'm also joined by Animelodie.
Hello, I am Animelodie. I did the voice of Luna for Rocket to Insanity.
And finally, I am joined by the Life on Cloud9, or Cloudy.
Hello, I am Cloud9, or the Life on Cloud9 if you want to be fancy, and I played Rainbow Dash in Rocket to Insanity.
Right, and I played Twilight, because Book Horse is best horse. Next to Apple Horse. Next to Sweet Horse. We're moving on from that. Right, this story was originally a fanfiction called Rocket to Insanity, and before that it was actually based on one of the most infamous stories in the entire of Bronydom, Cupcakes. And before we get on to talking about the comic adaptation, I thought it'd be fun to get people's ideas and impressions of those original stories, Cupcakes and the original Rocket to Insanity fanfiction. So, if we start with Illya, what do you think of Cupcakes and Rocket to Insanity?
Well, I think it's important that I start from the position of not knowing a darn thing. I'm going to listen to all of you tell me about it, because I've neither read Cupcakes nor the original Rocket to Insanity story. Cupcakes, I almost read it a couple of times, but I just never was in the mood to go there, I suppose. Well, now I've just screwed everything up.
Best way to start the podcast, eat the microphone.
We were doing quite well for about 3 minutes.
You had one job.
Yeah, but that's no fun.
I might just, say fuck and leave this bit in.
Oh, God.
Why not?
Suffice it to say that I'm planning on learning about these fictions from the rest of you as you discuss it.
Okay, so if in future things I might go around everybody else and then come back to Illya, alright? Right, so we start with, actually, does anybody have, a particular desire to start first?
No.
Not it.
Okay,
Not
Cloudy, that leaves you.
Crap. Okay. Well, I didn't really get into the fanfic reading and just fanfics in general, that part of the fandom, until a year or two after I got into the fandom initially. And one of the first fics that I discovered in about, 2014 was Cupcakes. And listening to it / reading it for the first time, because after I listen to fics, I tend to go and read them, on paper, or I guess on the computer. But after doing that, I was, for lack of a better word, terrified. I was like, what the hell have I gotten into with this fandom? What what is going on? I'm so confused. Because I was so used to just happy art and, voice acting, just impressions, and I had never discovered, I guess the dark part of the fandom, so I guess Cupcakes was my introduction to the dark part of the fandom. And it was a big deal at the time, but now I've grown used to all the effed up that the fandom can create. So Cupcakes was one of my first introductions to fanfics, and I guess I enjoyed it at the time, and I still kind of enjoy Cupcakes. It is a classic in the fandom, and it is as Scribbler pointed, a more infamous known in the Brony fandom, but it's still one that a lot of people know, and it is very popular. As far as Rocket to Insanity, the first time I actually heard or listened to the story in full was actually from TheLostNarrator, her video that she did on it. Mm-hmm. And I definitely enjoyed it, especially after doing this project. I definitely have a greater appreciation for Rocket to Insanity and also, I guess, Cupcakes in general. So it allowed for more exposure, I should say, when it comes to grimdarks or just cupcakes or like those kind of fan fictions. I was scared.
Animelodie, what did you think of the original Cupcakes and Rocket to Insanity?
That's a good question. Well, I think when I first discovered Cupcakes, I think I was still in high school, and I didn't really understand, like, what the big deal was when I first discovered, like, okay, so it's just about a bunch of murderous ponies? I think I can get behind this? So, like, I eventually, like, did watch the full thing. Oh, like, okay, so this is about one insane pink horse. Got it. Which drew me into the actual fandom and made me watch the first episode I ever saw was Party for One, which, boom, best horse, Pinkie Pie, hello. And from there on, I just kept getting more and more involved with the fandom, and I just kept discovering more and more fanfic readings, comic dubs, analysts, all that good stuff. And eventually,
no wonder you guys are so demented.
Do what?
No wonder you guys are so demented. Oh, I came into the fandom through Cupcakes. Wow. All right.
Before I discovered Cupcakes, thank you for reminding me, I actually discovered Epic Cupcake Time or Epic Webcake Time or whatever it is.
I think it was Epic
I
Webcake
forgot
Time.
what I was
It
gonna
just been
say.
dazzlings all over the shop.
Yeah,
I forgot what I was going to say.
Cupcake.
Just sunset side
I
twilight all over the place.
lost my train of thought. Oh my god.
I'm sorry.
Just let you
No,
know,
you're
love you.
fine. You're fine. It happens.
You got lost in the
Like-
sunlight.
Oh my god. What was it? I hate myself so much right now. Kill me, please.
No, because that's too grimdark even for us.
As far as
Yeah.
you know. Eventually, I did get a chance to not only read the fan fiction Cupcakes, but watch the SFM version of Cupcakes, and top quality, yes, awesome. And eventually I was like, you know what, this is pretty good, and then I just started reading more and more stuff. I'm like, okay, Cupcakes, it's a classic, yeah, I've seen other stuff, though. Like LostNarrator's sleep experiment one.
Oh yeah, an Apple Sleep Experiment, which was done by LostNarrator,
Yes,
but written by
that
Michael
made that made my dark fic of the year last year. That was my favorite of the last year. But then I saw her reading to Rocket of Insanity, and I was like, huh, that's pretty good. That really shows like a really deep subconscious of Rainbow Dash, like. But
It's
it's
okay.
just like it really delves into the psychological issues that Rainbow Dash could have after having this dream, and then just taking it out on Pinkie Pie. And then the Rocket to Insanity comic dub just takes it even a step further to explain the psychological issues that Rainbow Dash is having, not because it's her fault, but because of something else.
So they didn't do that in the
It
fiction?
got me thinking, like, you know, this actually makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I really like the Cupcakes and Rocket to Insanity things. I think they're really good in the fandom.
To answer your question, Illya, in the original Rocket to Insanity fic, it actually ends at the point where Rainbow Dash has stabbed Pinkie Pie in the bakery, and Pinkie dies, and that's the end of it. Rainbow goes insane, and they find her sitting in the middle of the blood puddle, just laughing to herself. Yep, that's where it ends. And the comic takes that and goes a completely different direction, because it's based on an alternate ending that somebody wrote, and then it carries it on into its own story. Parthus wasn't even a character in the original Cupcakes and Rocket to Insanity stories.
So the original was just a senseless murder and that's it?
Yep.
Okay.
The more you know.
Yeah, it falls into the category of Fix-It Fic that... it's kind of like Fix-It Fic upon Fix-It Fic. The concept of a Fix-It Fic is to take an element of canon or fanon and then fix it by writing an alternate ending or an alternate interpretation. So Cupcakes being the monstrous juggernaut of the fandom that it is, somebody wrote Rocket to Insanity to try and explain Cupcakes away as just a dream that Rainbow Dash keeps having, and punishes Pinkie for what happened in Cupcakes. As you know, in Cupcakes, Rainbow Dash dies, Pinkie wins. In Rocket to Insanity, Pinkie dies, Rainbow Dash wins. And in the comic dub, they then take that and go, no, let's take this further and fix everything in a very complicated and convoluted way.
Well, I'm certainly glad they did.
Yeah.
I would have found myself surprised if I had been part of that.
Yeah.
Just Pinkie Pie dies.
Wait a minute, I don't exist.
What does my life come to?
So, Shadow, what do you think of the original Cupcakes and Rocket to Insanity stories?
Like first of many people in the Brony fandom, Cupcakes was the very first fics I was introduced to, like that and My Little Dashie. When I first listened to Cupcakes, it was through a fanfic reader. I forget his name. I think it was Azeka. I forget. Mm-hmm. That's when I listened to his MLD reading. But I was like, what the heck? Like, cute cartoon ponies just killing each other. I'm like, I thought this is just some mindless torture porn, just to make torture porn via through reading it, and that's just so weird. But then later down the line, when I started getting to the fandom, Cupcakes came back to my mind, and then I listened to MrCreepyPasta's narration of it along with his two other friends who played the characters. I'm like, okay, this is actually getting. I don't know why I'm listening to this, but it's pretty good. Then I listened to Vannamelon's entire audio production of Cupcakes, and I'm like, wow, this is actually really good. Why am I listening to this? What is wrong with me? But I'm like, I love the horror aspect of it, and when I read Rocket to Insanity, I'm like, oh, it's just Rainbow killing Pinkie Pie. That's it. What I love about Cupcakes compared to Rocket to Insanity, Cupcakes to me had more of a build up. Oh, Pinkie's gonna do this, and then later she's gonna do that, going to do this to Rainbows. It just wasn't straight up stab, stab, the end. She was like, okay, how is she gonna torture Rainbow this way or that way? So I always like to see how long can a pony break in a way rather than just a stab. But then I did read the alternate ending of Rocket to Insanity. I'm like, oh, it's a lot more hopeful. It's cute. I'll make that canon from now on, because I was still a little bit disturbed by the original ending. Rainbow, why? The comic really helps cemented that. It's okay, we'll take that good ending, but let's take it a more step further, a more psychological aspect of that, and I like that.
And Illya, do you want to give your opinion now?
Well, I'm listening to this, trying to piece it together as best I can. I feel sorry for you people who are all dragged into fandom through Cupcakes. I think that's kind of weird. You seem to have survived. What I'm interested in most of all is the roles. The idea that they used Pinkie and Rainbow Dash. Do you think that's particularly significant? Could it have worked with Fluttershy and Applejack, for example? Or did just those characters that were?
There have been variations of the concept. I mean, torture fic is not something new to Pony, and it wasn't something that hadn't been done before when Cupcakes came out and Sergeant Sprinkles wrote it. But I think, just having listened to other people over time, the reason that he chose Pinkie Pie was because it was so antithetical to her canon personality at that point, because this was early season 1, before even Party of One had come out, which I still find fascinating that this was before Pinkamina was a thing in canon, and yet we still had Murderous Pinkie Pie in Fanon starting before that.
Yeah, but she was kind of nuts from the very beginning. I mean, a little bit edgy, sort of like that. And Rainbow Dash is Rainbow Dash is the character that people, other than Scootaloo, want to torture, it seems. I mean, there's something about it. I haven't figured that out, but I see it in the fandom.
Maybe because she's the tough pony? I don't know about Scootaloo torture stuff, because I've not read much of that. I think that might be just...
No, I'm just saying it exists, is all I'm saying.
I have not ever seen anything like that. That sounds kind of interesting.
I think
you've created a monster.
I want to see this to see if it's actually a thing.
Well, yeah, it's out there.
I think what makes Cupcakes even more creepy is that Pinkie, throughout the entire story, is in character.
Yes, is one.
That's what makes it. That's what makes it more terrifying. Hey, Dashie, I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah. Isn't it actually true that in the original Cupcakes that it is, in fact, the original Pinkie Pie? It's not Pinkamina, because Pinkamina was not a thing.
Exactly. This came out before Party of One.
Yeah, like, it was still poofy-haired Pinkie.
Yeah, and a lot of the fan art that's come since, they tend to characterize Pinkamina as being straight-haired Pinkie Pie. I mean, I did that in the credits of Rocket to Insanity when I had the vectors and I looked up Pinkamina. It was a slightly darker pink version of Pinkie with straight hair, and that's sort of the way Pinkamina has come to be known in the fandom. But that wasn't the thing when Cupcakes was written. It was just Pinkie Pie. Happy, bubbly, poofy-haired Pinkie Pie wearing her dress of other ponies' cutie marks.
Yeah, and her necklace of unicorn horns.
Yeah. That said, I think one of the reasons that Cupcakes took hold so much was that it came out not long before Rainbow Factory as well. And Sweet Apple Massacre. There was this point in fandom quite early on where grimdark was just the overriding force. Fallout Equestria, Cupcakes, Sweet Apple Massacre, The Cough, Rocket to Insanity, and Rainbow Factory. They all came out in a very short amount of time, kind of close to each other.
How old is the original the original Rocket to Insanity fic?
It came out a couple of months, I think, after the original Cupcakes, so it's season 1. Yeah, it's a very old story. And that said, when Cupcakes, the original story, Sergeant Sprinkles, did go back and fix the grammar and stuff, the original author of Rockets to Insanity didn't. So when you read it, it's actually 3 or 4 huge paragraphs, and that's it. It hurt my eye as the formatting, that one.
Oh, poor Scribbler.
That said, Rocket to Insanity is not on Fanfiction, but Cupcakes is.
Huh. Really?
Yeah. Fallout Equestria is, Rainbow Factory is, all the big grimdarks are on Fanfiction, except Rocket to Insanity. It's still on a Google Doc.
Is the author dead?
Strange.
So no, I don't know if the author is even in the fandom anymore, actually.
Yeah, that's quite possible.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I did find a comic dub explaining why everyone picks on Rainbow Dash so much. It's on TheLostNarrator's channel. It's called The Truth About Rainbow Dash, and it'll explain why everyone picks on her so much.
Okay, we'll leave that one in the description.
My inner Rainbow Dash is sad.
It's quite funny that anybody who voices Rainbow Dash at some point is going to be asked to be in something where she dies.
Yep.
Hey, I need you to be a Rainbow Dash. Can you die?
Or if the main 6 are involved and they're gonna die, Rainbow's the first to go.
Yes. I mean, that's really common, isn't it?
Yeah.
What was that one that you were in on Lost Channel? No, it was on Lost Channel. Not 2017. It was yes, that was it. Where Rainbow's the first to die in that one, isn't she?
It was Applejack and Rainbow Dash.
Ah, right. That one bucks the trend then.
It's just everybody hates Rainbow. Boop boop doop boop boop.
Aww.
Well, Applejack was killed by Rainbow's mistake, and then Rainbow suffered, and then Rainbow died because of that mistake. So I'm like, there you go. GG Rainbow, GG.
How can we kill Rainbow Dash today?
But yeah, Rainbow Dash VAs, she has to die. Pinkie VAs, at some point you're going to be Pinkamina and be murderous.
Pretty much.
There needs to be a fanfic out there that just explains why Rainbow Dash dies all the time. Little do you know she's actually a changeling and there's bunches and bunches of her.
She's like Kenny in South Park and she's actually the daughter of Cthulhu and just wakes up next morning in a bed.
Yes. Oh my god. Best next fanfic, Rainbow Dash, daughter of Cthulhu.
I need to be in that fanfic.
Yes, Dad, I'm going to school.
Eventually she just gives up and starts wearing an orange parka.
Oh my god. Yes.
I'm tired,
fan
guys.
art, please.
I'm tired, guys. I think I'm gonna go to bed. Dead.
Oh my god! Oh my god, they killed Rainbow Dash!
Marty, no!
You bitches!
Oh, Big Pie, we already know you did it.
She did not! I'll talk to you later, I'm dead!
The next morning, nobody remembers that she died.
Yep.
Oh, wait,
that's like your fanfic reading that you had the background pony one.
Oh yeah, when nobody ever remembers her.
Yes, that fic made me sad because it made me think, oh god, what if that really happened? That's depressing.
Yeah, it's existential dread in that.
But think about how many crimes you could do and get away with.
Existential dread into money-making scheme.
That works.
Yeah. Yep. Just get out of someone's eyesight for 5 minutes. Get her! Wait, where'd she go?
This is
Were we
going
talking
dark in a way that I didn't expect, considering we're talking about Rocket to Insanity. Crimes you can get away with if nobody remembered. I was like, shit, no, this is eventually going to go into a place we don't want.
That's a perfect hub for a fanfic.
Well, I mean, the thing does have insanity in the name.
Yep.
True.
I'm thinking about existential dread as a pony name. That would be a good pony name. That could be
Red.
Maud
my
Pie's
new
only
associate
friend.
name.
They were like the goth kids at school.
No, I don't like labels, Mom.
I'm existential dread. This is my friend
Just like-
nihilism.
It's like Pinkie Pie goes up, "Hey, what's your name?" I'm existential dread.
This is my friend nihilism.
And this is our friend Lily T.
Oh yeah, Neely T.
For the uninitiated, we had an hour-long conversation before this about Lily T.
She's the assassin pony who poisons people with tea made of lilies.
And we got tangent.
This podcast is going to inspire so many fanfics. It's unreal.
I
Yay!
can hear them piping already.
You just gave me an idea, Scribbler. Like, you all know the character Lily in the show, right?
Yeah.
Of the three
Flower Sisters.
Yes, thank you. What if Lily T was a murderer and she took Lily the pwn and made her into T, hence the name Lily T?
That's
It,
yep. That's the
Mind
kind of thing I would expect from this
blown.
podcast, to be honest.
Don't you guys just love me?
Da-da-da-da-da-da, that's Animelodie.
Yay!
Cut to the Looney Tunes outro.
Oh dear lord. No, anytime that anyone mentions Looney Tunes, it makes me think of Elmer Fudd singing grilled cheese. And it scars me every time.
Okay.
Alright then, so,
Shall we move on to the next part of the podcast, maybe?
shall we move on?
Why not?
I think we broke her. Shit, wait. We need to let Animelodie reboot.
Annabelle, no!
Animelodie.exe has stopped responding. Please reboot your computer to restart systems. If problems persist, please contact 1-800.
I'm good.
1-800
I didn't want to say it. Thank you.
Are you gonna be okay?
Apparently not.
Nope.
Yep, we lost her.
Okay.
Okay.
Medic!
For the rest of this, nobody's allowed to mention grilled cheese. She's gone.
Why?
Scribbler, why?
To be honest, I was trying to establish if that was what it was. Apparently it was.
No.
Scribbler, no! Let Belly. Come on,
At
get a
this point,
medic.
Animelodie's cats are just looking at her like, what the
Oh my god, Scribble, you're fucking right, holy crap! You're staring at
Are
me!
your cats just watching you now?
Yes!
hungrily?
Like, if she,
No, more like,
if
more
she
like,
dies
Mom,
of
you're an
laughter,
idiot.
you release her.
Oh my god.
Our
Okay,
faces are hurting right now.
okay.
We good?
I'm okay.
Are we
God
good?
damn it.
You sure?
Yes.
Alright. Okay.
Right. The fourth point that is in the little itinerary is thoughts about the differing plot on the comic that the comic took. And Illya's kind of already touched upon this. He's glad that the comic went a different direction. Cloudy,
my
what
part
do you
would've been
think
dumb.
about? Yeah, your part would have never existed. For those who aren't aware, because Cupcakes and Rocket to Insanity ended with the death of Pinkie Pie and Rocket, and Rocket Raccoon is now a character in this.
Yes!
Actually, that kind of works with the latest film, Rocket to Insanity.
Oh dear lord, just
Oh, no.
Bradley Cooper comes on the scene.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with that, to be honest.
I don't think anyone would.
No.
Yeah, the comic went a completely different direction. It had Pinkie survive. It had the entire concept of Parthus being a sentient disease in Rainbow Dash's head and brought in the concept of it infecting the elements of harmony and Parthus being a living being that originally caused Luna to become Nightmare Moon, who then escaped when she was cured and infected one of the elements, i.e. Rainbow, during that Rainbow Cannon moment in the first pilot episodes. What do we think about the fact that the comic went on this very, very different plot? Cloudy, since we started with you last time, do you want to start again?
Sure, why not? I kind of like that the comic took a different route than the original fanfiction. Don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed the original Rocket to Insanity. It's still really good. But I just like how this comic seemed more like story, I guess. It had more to work with than simply Rainbow Dash goes insane and kills Pinkie, the end. It had more to it. It had more character. It brought in all of the main six, and it showed like how they would react in a situation where Rainbow Dash went insane and killed or tried to kill one of their friends, and it allowed for that character experience. It allowed for that character interaction. It wasn't just a simple one-off of Rainbow Dash goes insane, and it's like, what happened after that? Like, does she just go insane and murder everyone in Ponyville and go on to rule Equestria as supreme insane overlord of all? But it just seemed like it had more to work with, and some points worked very well. Some points were kind of confusing, but overall, I feel like it worked really well for the story. The characters were portrayed fairly accurately and fairly well. I feel like each of them reacted, I feel like, the way they would, especially Rainbow Dash, because I feel like the moment she goes insane happens like at the same time in the comic dub and in the original, but it's approached differently in both of them, because the moment Rainbow Dash breaks is like the moment that she stabs Pinkie Pie, but in the comics it's taken as a more like, oh crap, what have I done type thing, and that's the moment that breaks Rainbow, snaps her back to see like, oh, this is my friend, and like, I just stabbed her, what have I done, someone help me, and that's like the platform for the story to just leap off of and kind of take off from there, and the rest of it, I feel like it was done pretty well, and I definitely enjoy it, especially the character of Parthis I really enjoy as well. I know that Parthis wasn't included in the original, but as far as connecting him to pre-established canon and also integrating him into the story, I feel like was done fairly well. Like having him connected to Luna in that way, like that was nice, I enjoyed that. So yeah, overall, good job, 10 out of 10.
And what do you think, Animelodie? Wait, if you stop laughing now. That would be a no.
Well,
no, I'm good. I'm sorry. Yeah, pretty much what Cloudy said, like to the T.
Wait, what I said made sense? That's a first.
Somebody write that down.
You're actually quite articulate.
Oh, thank
Just
you.
put that on a t-shirt, like, wait, I made sense.
I'm articulate.
I are smart.
I
I are smart.
I am so smart. I am so smart.
Smart.
Just so smart.
S-M-R-T. S-M-A-R-T.
No, I have apple juice all over in my hair and on my shirt. And
Smart.
I'm sorry, that came out of nowhere. That was amazing. I'm so
I
sorry.
are smart. You're all done.
I want that on a t-shirt with just like Rainbow Dash with wall eyes.
I am do smart.
Yeah, I am smart.
I've read books.
At Twilight. Looks, I are smart.
So, word. So, I am Shadow, what do you think?
Are you smart?
Yeah.
I'll start that again. I am Shadow, what do you think?
Damn it!
Stop it!
Ah, damn it!
Another laughing fit.
Rocky to insanity, giggling is magic.
No, sneezing is magic.
Nobody sneezed in the podcast yet. For
Not yet.
context,
Yeah,
all of us
yeah.
had sneezing fits, including the cats, before we started this.
Knocking on wood right now.
And I freaking started it, I'm sorry.
At least one person who's watching just sneezed, like, right as
Or better yet, they
if you
yawn.
sneezed, then good for you. You get a gold star.
Yep.
Get a cookie.
Good for you.
A Rocket to Insanity cookie.
Which is a knife.
Oh, dear
Sorry.
lord.
Okay, I Am Shadow, what do you think of the different plot that the comic decides to take?
Pretty much what Cloudy said. I just love how they expanded on the alternate good ending and how they got every other character involved. It's like, okay, how would the main six react? Will the princesses finally get involved in something? And they did. So Luna was involved, and I liked how they took the psychological aspect of that and just make it delve deeper into Rainbow's psyche, and then the whole connection with Luna and Parthis, and I just thought that was very good. And I also love the how Luna finally opened up to Celestia, and how Celestia finally opened up to Luna. And it's something I always like with the princesses when they open up to each other like sisters. So yeah, and when Cloudy mentioned about Parthis being attached to Luna, how she became Nightmare Moon, it's like, huh, Parthis was originally the Fanon Tantabus, if you think about it.
Yeah,
That's
it's
right,
kind of
yeah.
funny how a lot of things that became very popular in canon afterwards were already in fandom in some way or another, which is especially impressive when you think that the creators of the show are not allowed to read fanfiction or comics or things. They're allowed to look at fan art, but they're not allowed to read any plots that the fandom comes up with, and yet there's those parallels.
It's like
So-
Matt groaning with the whole, like, Simpsons prediction things that eventually come true, which is really creepy.
I was gonna say, like, the artist of the comic, he and Bernally created the interpretation of the Tantabus that the show was inspired to create.
Although that said, I think Parthus had more depth than the Tantabus.
Yeah.
The,
Oh, yeah.
The Tantabus went as far as a kid's cartoon on its time slot could go. I think that Parthus, the idea of a sentient disease, I really liked. I've never seen that as a plot point anywhere else. But I like that idea because it added so many layers to what was usually just, Luna was jealous and she went evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the
It's
idea.
Tantabus, ooh, big scary shadow monster. Parthis, what the heck is that thing?
I love the idea of sentient parasites. It's like so cool.
I thought you said parasprites.
Sentient
The
parasites.
show weren't sentient? Oops.
My god, they've learned how to open doors.
Oh dear lord. Well, they eat the doors, obviously.
Oh no. Thanks,
No,
Twilight.
How to open a door, you eat it. What I was saying about the whole Matt Groening, or however you say his name, Simpsons prediction thing is like, anytime that something happens in The Simpsons, it pretty much happens IRL. Like, the whole Lady Gaga flying over people thing, that happened in the Super Bowl, but in The Simpsons it happened years before. And, like, the conspiracies about 9/11 was in The Simpsons years before it actually happened. And there was even one about Donald Trump becoming president, and boom, it happened.
Yep.
So it just, like, there's so many things that happen in there that it's weird to think that it actually happens in real life, but it does.
They need to write
Simpsons
about
writers
some good
confirm
things.
for time travelers.
Yes!
It would be nice.
Oh, and
Yeah.
there was also, like, Fox taking over Disney Disney taking over Fox, and boom. Or maybe that was Star Wars. No, it was Fox.
It was Fox.
And Star Wars, yeah, that's right.
Basically, Disney's just gonna run the world at some point.
Ho-ho! Get in the cage! Ho-ho!
Why am I... Yeah.
Eventually, it all
You're
comes back to
replacing
South
Goofy
Park.
now! Ho-ho!
Oh my god.
Make us more money! Ho-ho! Ho-ho! Hey, we should get that My Little Pony! Ho-ho!
Yeah, that reminds me of that. My very first comic dub was Rainbow and Sonic talking about Wreck-It Ralph, and Mickey's like, "Oh, I like you, Pony. I think I'm gonna buy Hasbro." Haha.
Surprised that hasn't happened yet, to be honest. It's got princesses, long flowing hair, and pretty dresses. You'd think they'd be all over that shit.
Yeah,
No,
you
just
think?
because we bought Star Wars doesn't make them Disney princesses! Ho-ho-ho!
I want Leia to be a Disney princess.
She technically
needs to be
is if they did buy
Yeah.
Star Wars.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now that they've bought Fox, so is Anastasia.
Yes.
Yay!
Yay!
Even if Disney didn't make Anastasia, she now counts as it, yes.
To be
Yep.
honest,
But
you know
I
what
could
the
just
best
see,
kinds of
like-
Disney princesses. Tim Curry in Rocky Horror Show now belongs to Disney.
Oh my god,
Yes.
So Tim Curry
I
is
just
a
wanna
Disney
see-
princess.
I want to see Leia, Anastasia, and Rocky Horror Picture Show guy in all pink
Frankenfurter.
frilly frou-frou dresses.
He'd love it.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sure he would.
You know that Tim Curry himself would just be looking like that going, damn, I'm good.
Yes, queen, yes!
We have gone slightly off topic.
So we're on bullet
4. We have
4.
Illya. Just very brief. I know you touched on this before, Illya, but what do you think of the plot that the comic itself took? Irrespective of Cupcakes and the original story, which you said you're not familiar with, what do you think of the comic's plot?
Well, I'd want to ask first, and I'm assuming that probably the alternate ending was written by someone other than the original author. Am I correct?
It was.
And because that was the thing that struck me, is the difference in style. It went very cerebral very fast, and I don't think it was at first. But it's interesting because when I read, in preparation for my part, the Rocket to Insanity comic, I know, to me, the murder was just, well, not murder, the attempted murder of Pinkie Pie was just sort of a starting off place, just a beginning junction. That was all it was for me. Mm-hmm. And I thought that it could have gone so many different ways. It could have gone with Rainbow Dash hiding out from all of Equestria, and then a detective agency came from Canterlot. I mean, there's so many ways it could have gone. But instead, it went to a Luna plot, basically, for quite a while, which was... You know, I love Luna. I'm crazy about her. So, and I thought Parthus' character was written fairly well. That would have been a difficult one to write because he was basically a sociopath, but he was a sociopath that we were supposed to empathize with to a certain extent. But the strange thing that got me was the extent to which people did take to him. People wanted to see him in romantic relationships with Luna, and I was like, you know, that this is not. I didn't even see that coming when all the fans were jumping on that. But I was very happy with the branch and the way they went with it, and I also liked all the interactions between the main 6 before they got into the Luna plot. Those were fascinating character studies to an extent. Very, very, very much liked it.
I did notice that there was sort of a hard left turn into Luna plot, which happened in our production. It was around episode 5, which was the longest episode. It was 52 or 53 minutes. And there was this transition between Rainbow Dash's descent into psychosis, Twilight's budding romance with her, which a lot of people just went, what the fuck, where'd the ship come from? Which we're going to talk about in a minute. But
ships everywhere.
But there was this sort of shift. The moment Luna appeared on the scene, it stopped being a Rainbow Dash story. And there was this deep dive into Luna and Nightmare Moon and how she became Nightmare Moon, which when I first started reading it, because I actually read this comic years ago before I was going to do an adaptation of it, that it was 104 pages. I never actually thought I was going to adapt this. But I never realised it was going to be a Luna story when it started. Because Rocket to Insanity is famous for being Rainbow Dash and Pinkie Pie. And for a long time, it maintained that. One of my favourite moments in the entire story is where Rainbow Dash goes to see Pinkie in the hospital, and Pinkie doesn't even blink and just goes, do you regret it? Did you mean it? Well, we're still friends then, of course. Do you feel better now? And Rainbow Dash is just sobbing on her, going, yes! I thought you were going to hate me. I was like, that's Pinkie Pie. That was so well written for Pinkie Pie. Like, my friend has just stabbed me, but she clearly didn't mean it, so I'm going to forgive her. Like, normal people probably would have thought twice, but Pinkie is Pinkie.
One of the most amazing moments to me was when Pinkie was laying on the floor dying, essentially, before the medics got there, and she told Rainbow Dash to get lost. I mean, there was no... It was such a... The reason it struck me was it was such an un-Pinkie thing to do. She was totally dropping Dash as a friend for that moment. It didn't last, of course, but that was big. And that moment and the moment she took her back into the fold were both wonderful moments to me.
Yeah, I love that moment of... I mean, Pinkie doesn't even say, like, I hate you, or we're not friends anymore. She just says, don't touch me. It was like, that one line was so powerful because it was Pinkie the one saying it. I could imagine Apple Dash. There's no Freudian slip there. I can imagine...
They're coming.
Sure it was.
I can imagine Applejack or any of the others, if they've been stabbed, saying, don't you fucking touch me. But Pinkie? So the
Yeah,
fact
maybe
that
not
it was her who
Fluttershy.
said it, I think Fluttershy
Yeah.
would still get angry. I think
Yeah,
if
but-
she's just
but-
been stabbed by someone, she would then say, "Don't touch me." But
Oh, she's got the
Pinkie
stare.
wouldn't.
I forgot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think Fluttershy still has, as we saw at the end of the season 1 finale, she has the capacity to get very pissed off.
Yep.
Whereas Pinkie, less so. If you haven't broken a Pinkie promise, Pinkie is less likely to say something like that. So the fact that she did, I could see why Rainbow was so hesitant to approach her and think that Pinkie hates her just from "don't touch me."
When I was recording the line, I'm like, wow, Pinkie. It was a bit, surprising to me that Pinkie does say that to Rainbow, and it's like, oh, well then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which segues nicely into the next part on our itinerary, which is individual character interpretations. And so the idea of where we each played the characters that we played the way that we did, and what we thought about their particular plot lines and what happened to them. And since we said before, it was originally very much a Rainbow Dash story. Cloudy, what did you think of RD in this comic?
Oh, I'm first again. Fun. Okay.
Best way to start it off.
Yes. For me, this was the opportunity of a lifetime because I've been wanting an opportunity to not only play a crazy, insane, I guess grimdark comic like this for a while, but I've also wanted to do something like that with Rainbow Dash. This is a role that I've been wanting to do for a while. It was really exciting for me because I finally got an opportunity to be like, okay, I'm playing a character that's completely different from the art. I guess not completely different, but very different from the RD that we see usually in the show. The RD we see usually in the show, or just general fan fiction, is this tough tomboy, I'm the best and everyone else sucks, you're not as good as me, and I always have, I'm awesome type Rainbow Dash. This was an opportunity for me to kind of see the other side of Rainbow Dash that we don't see quite often in the show. But for me personally, when I see that side of Rainbow Dash in the show, the one that's caring, the one that shows emotion, the one that's basically off the wall with emotion, which she normally isn't, I guess. It's really interesting for me, and it's really I wanted to play off that that emotion, and you can probably tell that I had an emotion overload 90% of the time when I'm screaming and crying into my microphone as Rainbow Dash for 2 hours straight. Sorry, Scribbler. But the character for me was really fun overall. What I enjoy most about it, and they actually touch on it in the comic a little bit in one of Twilight's lines when she's talking to Spike about why she's letting Rainbow Dash stay at her house after, she just tried to murder someone. She's saying, I'm seeing this other side to her, the part that is kind, the part that can open up, the part that can show emotion that she usually hides under this tough exterior. And that's the part of Rainbow Dash that I really like, too. That's the part that is the most character building and the part that's the most interesting to me, and I really wanted to, because there's a lot of emotion from Rainbow Dash. Rainbow Dash is an emotional roller coaster in this, which is appropriate because she's going insane from a sentient parasite in her head. But for me, I really, as you do, it's just Tuesday in Ponyville. This is Tuesday. Tomorrow we're refacing King Sombra, and then Tyrek comes back. But for me, just Tuesdays. For me, I really wanted to play off the emotion, and I really wanted an opportunity to kind of break the mold of the tough bravado of Rainbow Dash and really, because I love this type of character. I love, the insane character that goes crazy and, can break down at any moment. But I also like this version of Rainbow Dash. So it's just a combination of all things that I like, and I really enjoyed it, and I wanted to give it my all, because this is one of the few bigger roles that I've done. This is probably one of the biggest projects that I've done, and I'm really honored that I got to be a part of it, and such a big part of it, and I really appreciate it. So I wanted to give the best performance I could, and my throat hated me for a week after, but it was worth it.
Yeah, there were moments in your recording where you stopped for ages, and then I would just hear, I think my neighbors can hear me.
Oh, yeah. Fun fact, I tried to keep the recordings to a minimum of, 30 to 40 minutes, because 30 to 40 minutes is a lot of raw audio. For those of you who don't know, it's a lot, but, that didn't happen. And again, Scribbler, I'm sorry. I sent Scribbler hour-and-a-half long files of raw footage of me screaming, crying, and doing various other rainbow horse noises into a microphone. And there were multiple of those. And I also had to record in 2 separate places because I am a student, and part of the recording was done where I normally record, where there's little to no background noise, thank you. And the other half was done at my university, where my neighbors are running down hallways at 1 a.m. screaming bloody murder, and I'm like, shut the up, I'm trying to record. I'm recording,
dying down the halls and scream the words bloody murder? No. Or just scream in general?
They just scream. They're probably drunk or on.
Okay, I was worried for a second.
No, there's no murders going on at my college, but
Okay, I was worried for a second.
Rainbow horse murders.
Only rainbow horse murders. I felt like Scribbler can attest. Just my neighbors probably either think I'm crazy or just think I died or something, because it was either them running down hallways and screaming and me going, shut the ever-loving hell up, or them. I did actually get a knock at one point at my door asking if I was okay, and I did not answer the door because I was terrified, so I just paused the recording and I was like, I think I should stop because my neighbors and people who run the building probably think I'm dying. They don't know what's going on. So that was fun.
Yeah, that was during one of your screaming sessions.
It probably was.
I'm sad to admit that I did actually laugh myself stupid at those going on.
And that
you would scream, and then there'd be a pause, and you'd just go, I don't know what I'm doing. Is this how you sound when you die?
I've never died before. Contrary to popular belief, I've never died before, so I don't know what it's like. I don't know if you scream. I don't know if you you just keel over and that's it, and you reincarnate as a butterfly. I don't know what happens, but that's
if you rainbow dash, you just wake up next morning in your bed in your old clothes.
Oh yeah.
There was actually one point I do remember in, I believe it was part 5, when the fic or the comic suddenly became a Twidash fic, and Twilight kisses Rainbow Dash out of nowhere. There was that moment where I was like, I don't know how to react when someone kisses you out of nowhere, and then I paused for 2 seconds and I was like, wait a minute, yes I do. My first boyfriend did this to me. Let me channel those memories back from 3 years ago.
I like how you went on New Yorker there for a second. It was like my voice boyfriend.
Yeah.
Voiced.
Voiced. I've been awake since 7 a.m. I'm sorry, words have no meaning anymore.
Oh, poor sweet babu.
My first boyfriend, that actually happened to me where, we were talking, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna do something crazy. Promise you won't be mad? Oh, okay, sure. Kisses out of nowhere. I don't know how to react. Help me. Wow. And, yeah, so that did actually happen to me, so I had to, reconjure, some memories that have been long suppressed in the back of my mind and caused me grief, so that was fun. Thank you, Scribbler.
You're welcome.
Use it.
Use what you can when you voice act, people. Use whatever emotions you have them, use them.
That said, Shadow, you played another sociopath in this. You played Pinkie Pie as Pinkie Pie, and then Pinkamina, who was really Parthus.
Yes.
What did you think during your performance?
Well, I do love scaring the hell out of Rainbow and just freaking her out. Any moment where I just traumatize Rainbow, I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna love recording this scene.
Thanks, Shadow.
I did notice I got more takes of all the scary lines.
I know.
You got an equal amount of me screaming.
yeah, Scribbler, you got RD screaming, and you got me ending like a psycho.
You can make a whole fic just on that.
It's like...
You have enough for audio.
It's like, ooh, Pinkie turns to the Joker. I like this. Yeah, my inspiration was like, okay, imagine Pinkie if she were the Joker. I'm like, oh, I can have fun with this. So, just the very first dream sequence where, like, Pinkie's like, remember doing this to me? And, like, showing her scar, I'm like, a part of me really wanted to, like, call back saying, you wanna know how I got this scar? So, but, because I'm like, the whole Joker thing, I couldn't resist, but in all seriousness, I like the idea how, like, it's cute Pinkie, then all of a sudden she gets stabbed, but then Rainbow starts feeling bad about what she did, and Pinkamina's like, hey, remember you killed me? I'm gonna haunt you forever and ever, until you crack. So, like, I just love, like, those moments where, their dark thoughts are coming to haunt you, just to remind you that, hey, you know what you did? I'm gonna haunt you. So, I like playing, very psycho and dark people who, break others. I break minds. That's my character.
What?
I have to find some more Tyrant Lestia stuff then.
Yay!
It's fun, though.
I misheard you, and I think you said Tyrant Molestia.
Oh, God.
That's a very different character.
Hide your children!
That's the worst of both worlds.
It's fun. It's fun when you can barely hear out of your ears.
What else were you going to hear out of?
I will admit, it was very hard for me to, because I am an alto and I have a very low voice, so trying to say, high pitched Pinkie, and even Pinkamina is still pretty hard. I'm like, oh, I hope I sound, like, pitchy. I'm like, Scribbler, I hope it's enough, or you can, so, I was like, please, I gotta sound high pitched!
Yeah, how did you, like, what's your recording process?
I just winged it.
So you did everything in, like, one take?
Yep.
Wow.
But
the fact that you kept up that energy from start to end then is amazing.
Yeah. But since I have a full set of my ponies, so I'm like, I gotta put bloopers in next time. So there will be bloopers of Pinkie swearing someday.
Yes.
Yes.
Have those, please.
Yes, I'll send it to you after the podcast.
Yay! I remember actually when I spoke to you at BronyCon, you said, yes, I have bloopers. Yes.
Yes, for Lost Narrator's an Apple Sleep Experiment fanfiction. I'm like, she's gonna love these.
Yes, Pinkie bloopers, please.
Yes, if there's any more Pinkie stuff in the future, I'll definitely put Pinkie cursing as my top priority recording. It's like, priority 1, Pinkie must curse.
Rocket to insanity, cursing is magic.
Yes.
Damn it.
That's it. Animelodie. Luna, you recorded all of Luna's lines in one night.
Yes, I did.
And you did it in real time, because I remember sending you certain messages, and then on your recording, I could hear those messages arriving, and you responded to them.
All one night? Dang.
Yes.
Wow.
I didn't
Wow.
think. I was like, okay, she needs these lines. I can do this. I'm sure it's not that many. 3 hours later.
Jeez.
Yeah. At one point in the recording, you just went, oh shit, the sun's come up.
Even I didn't go that far.
At like 7 in the morning, I think.
But,
like, I knew you were, like, in desperate need for him. I'm like, okay, you can do this. You can't let her down. Later on, just like,
Where has time
I kept having
gone?
to pause and go get drinks and take bathroom breaks, and it was just, I learned my lesson.
to be honest, by the end, Luna was so worn out and fractious, and you could definitely tell that in your recording.
I made it work. I get
Yeah,
that.
that's
How
did.
you go with that. I made it work.
You were fantastic. Your crying made people cry. It was really.
Yeah, I got feels from that. I'm like,
I got
Lulu,
hardcore
don't
feels.
cry. I'm like, Lulu, no.
I can cry like that.
Please
If
don't
need
do it
be.
now.
Oh, I know how you feel. Annabelle.
She's already shed a single tear.
See?
Yeah, I know. I know
Yeah.
how you feel, Animelodie. I love crying on cue. It's fun.
I know. And then, like, being, like, the creepy person, too, where you can just, like, be insane right on the spot, too.
Yeah.
Anybody would think you were a voice actor or something.
Oh my gosh, I'm a voice actor? What?
Yeah.
Hi.
Now this might come as a bit of a shock.
You really think I could do that? Really? You like me? You really like me?
Now you're channeling Fluttershy.
I thought you said Butters. No, I'm like, are we back in South Park?
Flutters. Oh god, Fluttershy's Butters.
Hey, I'm Butters.
Hi, hi, I'm
No, Hamburger.
hi, I'm Butters. I'm Buttershy.
I want Buttershy now!
It's butterscotch.
Yeah, he's butterscotch, so now we want Buttershy.
Oh god. Buttershy going.
God.
Lulu, I got some apples. Lulu, you want some too?
And Applejack's just standing behind and going, what?
What's going on in here?
Buttershy.
Big Mac, did you put cider in the drinks again?
Yep.
and then Buttershy becomes Professor Flutterbat.
Oh dear lord.
Oh, God, dude.
Yes!
Oh no.
Professor
I forgot
Chaos
about
Bat.
But anyway, I really liked
Back to Luna in Crockett to Insanity.
but I really liked the way that Luna was portrayed in this, that she ended up having such a big role involved in the comic that, like, in the beginning you didn't expect it, and all of a sudden, bam, I'm here. You're thinking, okay, well, what's her part going to be in this? And then you find out, oh, she has connections to the demon. This is going to be interesting. And I loved how they made her flow with that and just gave her more of her backstory to be added into this. Interesting. That makes a lot of sense. But it was just so much emotion dragged into her role, and it was perfect. I just love how she was able to be like, I know what's wrong, I can fix it. And she fixed it, but she hates the fact that she can fix it. Because Celestia pretty much gives her
it was a big sacrifice for her to fix it. Yeah, it was huge.
Yeah, Celestia pretty much just gives her no choice. Like, hey, you can either fix this or you can let your friend die.
Yeah.
And it's just that tearing apart feeling that you get along with the character, like, save, die. Save, die.
Just like the tension of that part was just, it was intense. Like, and you hear all the other mainstays like, you promised you'd save Rainbow Dash. It was like, you promised. And then Luna's like, I know I did, but it's believable. You're actually stuck in the win-lose situation. Like, you have to save or die. So it just makes me feel so bad.
I could just see, like, Celestia having a scale with a little toy Luna and a little toy Rainbow Dash and Parthis on it. Or, no, excuse me. A little toy Rainbow Dash and a little toy Parthis, and Luna just, in her hoof, just like, choose.
Well, that's the whole point, really, is that nobody, no pony, but Luna knew what she was going through. Celestia didn't know. The main six didn't know. And Luna will have to carry that alone forever. And she's the only one that's very Luna-esque.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's so heartbreaking. And I love the fact that it's heartbreaking because it makes you think, what if you had to make that choice?
Right.
Between someone you knew a long time ago and had a deep connection with, even if it was in the wrong way, and someone who's just one amongst 100,000 other people out there.
Yeah.
That comment she makes of Rainbow Dash is a mortal who's going to die anyway, whereas Parthis could have lived forever. And it makes you think she literally has no one except Celestia she's going to stay with forever, and they have a rocky relationship. She was looking to Parthis for that connection. It is very sad, but it's also the idea that Luna does try and find the balance. She tries to find a way to save them both, and Parthis has to point out to her, what exactly was your end game here? I can't stay in this mind. If I come back to you, you're going to become Nightmare Moon again, and if I go on to someone else, they're going to die.
Then
that's the nature of me.
The whole cycle just continuously starts over again and again and again, no matter what you do. So it's a lose-lose situation, no matter what you do.
And yet she tries so hard to save him until he says to her, you can't. I cannot exist. I am dangerous.
And I think that's, like, that thought process is what made it better when I started doing the crying scene, because I'm thinking, okay, if I was in the situation, yeah, I can understand being completely heartbroken, and it just went from there.
And the whole scene with her finally opening up to Celestia, and then Celestia, she opened up herself to her, that just gave a lot of closure to how they've both been dealing with their rocky relationship, and it was nice to see them reconcile, finally.
Yeah, yes. And I think, like, the most heart-wrenching part is when she just begs her sister to stay.
Yeah,
don't ever leave.
Yeah.
Even after 1,000-year time span of not being together, that's how desperately she wants her to stay.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to risk that ever happening again, and she doesn't want to risk losing anyone ever again.
That part really got to me, when she says, like, what do you want me to do, sister? Don't leave. Just, feels.
Yeah, kicks you right in the feels. There's
Yeah.
there's
You didn't need
lot
them
of it.
feels.
I did not sign a permission slip for this feels trip.
The feels on the bus go round and round.
And everyone cries.
Tumbling right to the ground.
There's also, I feel like a big theme of loss in, not just with Luna and Parthis, that dynamic, but also with, Twilight, because I feel like she doesn't want to lose Rainbow Dash. She says over and over again, I can't lose the part of her that I love, I can't lose Rainbow Dash, you promise you'd save Rainbow Dash. She says to Luna, promise you'll save Rainbow Dash, for me, can you promise me? It's just a big thing of, they don't want to lose the people that they care about, or the ponies that they care about, and they don't want to lose anyone, because losing someone is heartbreaking, I feel like, no matter who it is, whether it's a friend you've known for years or someone who you secretly love, or as more than just a friend, no matter who it is, especially in this story, that it's just loss is a big thing. And yes, Luna loses someone that she did care about and most likely still does care about, but in the end, it comes down to the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, and Parthis had to sacrifice himself for the good of everyone. Luna had to do that because, it's her royal duty, but she didn't want to. She had to put her own feelings aside, and it's just something that no matter who you are, whether you're royalty or you have a crush on your best friend, then it's just loss is something that's hard for everybody.
I feel like you're taking me straight out of anime scenes. Because if you think about it, but no, I get you. I completely understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is, when Luna says you gave me an impossible choice, it really was. There was no good ending for anyone if she leaves it alone. RD dies, and Parthus moves on and kills someone else. If she goes in, she has to be the one to kill Parthus, and potentially RD will still die if she doesn't get there in time.
And of all the loss in the entire comic, Luna is the only one that finally experiences real loss.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All alone. The rest of them were safe. She's the one. It's very Luna.
Yeah. It is very Luna. There's the idea of that isolation. I mean, there's the element of hope at the end that she does reconnect with her sister in a way that they clearly have a very tenuous relationship at the start. That it's all about duty, and Celestia says we have to put our subjects first before ourselves. But it's only when Luna does that she then makes this personal reconnection with Celestia in the last scene, and she tries to explain to Celestia what she's been through, rather than keeping it all bottled up like she did when she became Nightmare Moon.
And it's just Luna is a character that you do find believable that she can hide her feelings, because again, it's really hard, to open up your feelings to someone, because you think, oh, they probably brush me off or not understand what I go through. So it's hard for Luna to not express herself, and it's believable because it really is a common thing to not talk about your emotions, or being hard to express those emotions to someone you care about, because you think of the worst outcomes that your loved one might say to you, either they don't believe you or they don't think they're going to care. So Yeah.
And yeah, they play off that kind of at the beginning with the main six, because the main six don't understand what Rainbow's going through, and especially I feel like Applejack and Fluttershy don't really care to understand, because they're either so blinded by anger or confusion of why Rainbow would do this out of nowhere, and they're not willing to understand. The only person initially willing to understand is Twilight.
And she has kind of ulterior motives in a way.
Yes.
Yeah. But it just comes back to like the feeling of that's part of the reason why Rainbow devolves the way she does, is because she feels like none of her friends understand. Like, she says, I thought you would always be there for me. I thought we were friends and we could make it through anything. And it just, the thought of this one thing, they've been through so much, and this one thing just tears them all apart. Applejack beats her to an inch of her life. Fluttershy screams at her and says, I hate you. Rarity just leaves. And says nothing, and is just everything. And Twilight's the only person who stays which I feel like is pretty in character for Twilight. Yeah. She, like, needs an explanation. She wouldn't just jump to any conclusions. But I feel like the way that the main six handled the situation is, like, the relationships and the interactions with the characters is very believable, and it's very relatable for the people who experience, like, any type of loss, or, like, any of this type of trying to explain my feelings, or, like, you won't understand what I'm going through, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and that is a good parallel to both Rainbow Dash and Princess Luna, that they have feelings, and it's just they don't know how to either get their feelings out or talk to someone who might not possibly understand what they're feeling. So it's a really good parallel.
Yeah. Does the reactions of all the main six, like in the comment section of the video when part 2 came out and we had the main six's reactions, there were a lot of people saying this is very out of character, but it gives this weight to the nature of a murder has never happened in Equestria before. A senseless, violent murder attempt is so unusual here that none of them are entirely sure how they're supposed to react to it. So, as much as their reactions might seem out of character to some people, when you weigh that against, no, it's not like in the real world where we see murders on the news every day, where it's something that we deal with as a reality. To them, no, death is not something they deal with on a regular basis, and violent death is definitely not. So the fact that Rainbow Dash does this, it almost doesn't matter that she regrets it afterward, because the fact that her mind went to that place is something they can't empathize with.
Yeah, and it's just, again, you gotta put in their situation. You found out that one of your best friends killed one of your other best friends. You're gonna have so many mixtures of emotions, and anger is one of them. Like, oh my god, why would one of my own friends do that to my other friends? Like, it says you want to, like, beat the answers right out of them and say, like, how could you do this? Why would you ever do this to one of our friends? So it's believable for the main six to do that, because, again, murder is not very common in the MLP universe, especially for, like, something that's so kid-friendly. So it is believable for them to do that.
Yeah, especially when the magic of friendship usually fixes everything. And like Scribbler said, murder, especially violent murder, is something that is pretty much unheard of in the world of Equestria, because usually everything is sunshine and rainbows, and the magic of friendship solves any hard times that the ponies ever go through. And also the fact that Pinkie Pie was just trying to cheer up Rainbow, and then out of nowhere comes the stabby stab. And adding that layer on top of it is just kind of like, it adds to the confusion, it adds to the anger, but especially the confusion of, you seemed down, so I tried to help you and you almost killed me. Like, what? It just doesn't make sense.
And it actually makes you feel among with the main six, like, you feel that shock, you feel that anger, you feel that depression and denial that they feel. So I find it kind of ironic that people say that's very out of character for them. It's like, well, there are going to be times when your precious ponies are going to act very, pretty realistic, and out of character it's just so misused nowadays.
I have to step in on this. I have to step in on the side of the out of character bit though for just a minute, because what Rainbow Dash did, it was so unprecedented and without a motive that they didn't ask why, and when you try to explain why, they wouldn't listen to why. That is something that you overwhelmingly would want to know, is why.
Yeah.
And that to me was the out of character thing. I can see them being angry, beating him up and everything, but they'd want to know why this person who never did anything like this did something so unprecedented in the history of Equestria. That was, for me, the out of character bit, was just them not wanting an answer right then.
That's true.
Yeah, it's true. I think there is actually a moment where Rainbow Dash is begging and saying, "You have to listen to me," and Applejack says, "No, I don't have to," which did make me think, I can imagine Applejack saying something like that, but she would immediately come to her senses and go, "Actually, no, yeah, I'd like to know why you stabbed my friend."
Really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the fact that they do just leave her there, it shows that there's no pattern for how the authorities are supposed to deal with this. The fact that they call in the Royal Guards, which, side note, I adore the fact that all the characters are saying, like, "Oh yeah, the Royal Guards are amazing, they always catch their man."
Yeah.
I'm glad I wasn't the only one who thought that. I was thinking that too.
Yeah.
The Royal Guards are shit at their job.
I'm a Royal Guard.
He's really butterfly?
I need an animation of that.
That used to be it, please.
It's like Pinkie Pie gets distracted by that one balloon, like, floating across the... Yeah.
Oh, look, a moose.
Oh god, Parthis is the balloon.
Oh god.
My little Parthis, my little Parthis.
Okay, so if we finished on that topic, just on the note of okay, yeah. That's a no. No, we're not finished on this topic. Go on.
Well, I haven't been asked, but I'll put my 14 cents into this. That's right.
Yeah. How did you think Parthus went, and why did you play him the way you played him? And I'm sorry for not saying that before.
That's all right. Parthus was a tricky character in some ways. At times, when I first listened to my part back, I thought I'd played him a little too subdued. I was concerned about that. And when I listened to it 2 or 3 times, I decided that I hadn't, because he was a sort of a sociopath, I wouldn't call him a psychopath. He had a bit of emotion, but he had it repressed. Luna had given him emotion at one point, and he said, "I got rid of that," which, he proved in the end that he hadn't gotten rid of it by his act of self-sacrifice, which, no sociopath would do that. But he had to be played sort of quiet. She comes up and stabs him with her horn, and he says, "Oh, you shouldn't have done that. That was useless. That didn't do anything to me. I'm incorporeal. So to me, I was always wanting to get a little wild with the dialogue, but I held myself back to a more reserved, calm, unemotional character that I felt like that he was. There's something else I wanted to add to this. When Scribbler first approached me to do the part of Parthis, she told me that she also wanted me to do the narration, and that it would be obvious or apparent at some point why the same voice was used for the narration as was used for Parthis. In a way, this entire story was sort of a meta story being told by Parthis, because he was in on almost all of it in the beginning, watching what was happening. Do you recall saying that to me, Scribbler?
I do, yes.
Yeah. I was kind of curious as to, at this point, what your feeling was about that, because we hadn't discussed it since you first mentioned it to me.
The idea of the narration in the opening piece, because that very first chapter is the only part that has narration to it. And I did like the idea of Parthus being the one narrating Rainbow Dash's downfall. It's like he knows what is happening to her. He knows where it's going to lead. And then eventually we get the reveal that it is him. To be honest, nobody in the comment section yet has noticed that, but I put that down to the fact that part 1 is so far distant from part 8 where Parthus is revealed. But I'm hoping somebody will now make the connection of why that is the thing.
But that also goes into another thing. Parthus was an evil, manipulative murderer. He was a horrible person. But towards the end, he didn't seem much like that at all. And he was drawn rather cute, so I like that.
Yeah.
Little pony
who's an adorable parasite? You are.
He's so cute.
Where are we to imagine this disconnect between him causing Rainbow Dash to stab and murder Pinkie Pie to the point where he's self-sacrificing himself? That's such a turnaround. It was tricky.
It is. I think, just personally, I think that when he got reacquainted with the memories that Luna had been trying to reconnect him with, I mean, a large chunk of the end of the story is Luna being horrified at the fact that he's deliberately cut himself off from a lot of the memories of her time with him, where she did, for want of a better word, humanize him, and she taught him emotions, and she taught him morals, and she taught him how to be a person and not a parasite. And he had deliberately forgotten that, because along with all those emotions comes guilt over what he's done, and guilt over the fact that he turned her into Nightmare Moon. So he was able to effectively become Pinkamina and torture Rainbow Dash because he didn't have a conscience. He didn't have the context that he then was reunited with during Luna's time in his mind.
And I think once he had been reunited with those emotions, that his only out was to sacrifice himself. Otherwise, he would have had to live with it forever. So
exactly,
it was a logical choice for him. A painful one for Luna, but
well, he does acknowledge when she first finds him, and he says, "I need Rainbow Dash to die so I can move on, because if she doesn't die, I can't leave."
Right.
He needed to survive, and that was his only instinct. Whereas the moment he had his memories back, he realized that if he leaves, he's just going to keep up going on destroying lives. And it's the same idea. It's like he was conscious of the fact that he'd need to go on and destroy somebody else's life to survive. But when he had the memories and the emotions to go with it, suddenly it became an unpalatable option, that he could empathize with his own victims in a way that he hadn't been able to before. Suddenly the idea of going off and destroying somebody else's life just so that he could survive was too guilt-inducing, and he couldn't face the prospect of that being his role for the rest of eternity.
There was really no out of character, in character, really way to play him, because he's not a canon character of any sort, or even a Fandom character. But I think I probably did the best I could with it. I was very happy in the end. Like I said, at first I thought he was too subdued, but in the end I think that was probably appropriate for his initial responses.
No, I liked the way that you played him, that he was slightly refined. I mean, your accent lends itself to the idea that he came from this era of equestrian history that is not the modern age, and the way that you played him made it clear that he was not something that was just created. He has been around for a long time, and he has picked up part of his personality tics and his ways of operating from each of his victims as he's gone along.
I thought it was really interesting that people wanted to ship him with Luna. I mean, they liked him to that extent. I thought he was a little bit unlikable, so that was surprising.
Yeah, I read the comics of ship it.
Yeah, it's like there's lots of comments trying to ship him with Luna, and I did look at that and think, you know, he tried to kill Pinkie Pie, right?
You want Luna to pair up with a murderer.
Yep. Yeah, I guess that separates the difference between entity versus character.
Yeah, that didn't work last time.
So that makes it Lunarthus. Got it.
Lunarthus.
Yeah.
Or Puna, but that sounds a little bit weird.
Well, the ship in general is weird, so the name fits.
Yeah. But I have to say, though, if in terms of the things that people turn into ships, especially OC canon character ships, I can get behind this one a lot more than a lot of the more famous OC
Yeah.
characters in this fandom. On that note, then, shipping. Now, I
The
haven't talked about the way.
Oh, the ships.
Let's address the elephant in the room, the
Yeah.
shipping.
Just
'Cause
have
I
a
should
human
really,
boat go across.
I haven't talked about the way that I played Twilight, specifically because the big thing about Twilight is the fact that a lot of her motivation is shipping. From the moment that she is left alone in the field with Rainbow Dash, it's different when you first read the comic to when you reread it or go back and rewatch it knowing that she is in love with Rainbow Dash. It's sort of, I don't know, it also makes it more disingenuous that she's the one who wants to help her. But Twilight's motivation is that she's not just friends with Rainbow Dash, but she is deeply in love with her. And that came out of left field for a lot of people. To be honest, it surprised me how many people didn't get what she was talking about until she laid that smackaroo on Rainbow Dash in part 5.
Yep.
Because she does
didn't
have a
come to
lot
me
of
either.
diatribes. And she actually says the word love to Spike. She's like,
Yeah.
I can't lose the part of her that I love. And I just went, oh, she loves her. That was the point that I got it.
Oh, yeah.
But a lot of other people didn't get it until she was in the bathroom and just went, don't get mad, and then kissed her.
Yep.
I thought it was just a tiny little crush. I didn't realize it was borderline infatuation.
I can imagine like Twilight going, God damn it, Rainbow Dash is spell it out for you! Mwah!
I'd like to point out something at this juncture that really it's one of the most troubling things about the comic to me. Not that it didn't work, but imagine how crushed Rainbow Dash must have been when she realized that the only reason that Twilight was the only one that was kind to her was because she had a crush on her. She wasn't.
Yeah.
That had to be just devastating to her.
Yeah,
It's like,
it wasn't
oh my-
that
the
Twilight
one person.
believed her, it was that Twilight had the hots for her.
Right. That's devastating.
Yeah, now that you
Yeah.
mention it, it is kind of heartbreaking for Rainbow
Yeah.
Dash to... It's like Rainbow Dash, it's like, so you're only with me because you love me.
To be honest, it made it kind of hard to play Twilight, that when I was voicing her, I kept thinking that I was voicing her as whinier than usual. That there were points where Twilight was almost un-Twilight-like with how much she was whinging and whining, and then I went back and watched season 1, I thought, no, actually, she does bitch a lot in season 1.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it made it feel slightly underhand, the way that Twilight was operating. I would have preferred it if she had waited until the crisis was over before telling
Exactly.
Rainbow
Yeah.
Dash. And that,
Right.
if I had one problem, because I like Twidash, Gooty converted me. I kind of like, it's not my favourite ship, but I do like it. But, in this instance, I think Twilight royally screwed up by choosing her moment. Because in real world context of this, it had been, 15 minutes since Rainbow Dash had a full-on meltdown in a public restaurant.
Right.
Yeah.
And then she's immediately going, no, I'll help you. This is really nice necklace that Pinkie's given you. Mwah.
Yeah,
It's
it's
your
like,
moment, Twilight.
it's like time and place, Twilight. It's like your friend just had a nervous breakdown and you just want to go, oh, B-dubs, I love you. Mwah. So it's like time and place.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the fact that she doesn't warn Rainbow Dash, she could have said, I've actually fallen in love with you. But no, the fact that she immediately goes and physically plants a kiss on her, and yeah,
Right. That
it's
makes
the
it
same as
physical.
Cloudy. Yeah, same as Cloudy, that my first kiss was actually one that I didn't ask for and didn't know was coming. I was getting out of the car, and the guy I was dating just kind of pinned me up against the car, which was fun because he had lettuce in his teeth.
Ew.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd had a little bit of Dutch courage beforehand, so he tasted and smelled of beer and had lettuce in his teeth, and I was falling off the pavement into my car at the time. Just like, yay!
Oh God,
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
it's bad when Illya makes that noise.
Yeah.
But, yeah, at that moment, it's like, you almost feel, and it's a strong word to use, but you do kind of feel slightly violated, like, I did not give permission for this.
Yeah.
And I
Even
kind
when
of felt for
recording it,
RT.
Yeah, even when recording it, like, I did kind of pick up on it originally, when Twilight said, I can't lose the part of her that I love. I kind of picked up that I'm like, okay, there might be a little Twidash in here. There might be, like, a slight little crush. It might happen somewhere. And then I went to record part 5, and I was like, Twilight was like, oh, you promise you won't get mad? And it's like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. And then I was expecting something along the lines of, I have a crush on you, or I love you, or I care about you so much because I love you. Something like that. Just some sort of explanation, not full-on kiss out of nowhere. And I saw that. And I think it was in my recording, Scribbler, I was like, wow, she kisses her? That took a steep turn into left field.
It's like, Twilight, you could just say it. You didn't have to do that. I'm pretty sure.
It was actually kind of predatory. I mean, when they're all together down there, when Applejack slugged her in the face, and they were all there, and it's like Twilight just stayed behind, like a predator, sort of.
Notice me, Rainbow. Stay behind. Senpai will notice me. Notice me, Rainbow Senpai.
It was creepy.
Yeah, it did make me kind of appreciate, and I know a lot of people hated this aspect that they felt like the shipping never got resolved. It did kind of, because Rainbow Dash says, I don't feel the same way about you. I'll happily be your friend, but I don't love you back. And Twilight goes, I'll have to accept that. And even at the end, when Rainbow Dash is unconscious and Twilight's talking to Fluttershy, she says, it's not even like Rainbow feels the same way about me. Like, she's acknowledged the fact that this is going to be unrequited. But in terms of the build-up to it, it felt almost unfinished.
Yeah.
But I kind of like the fact that Twilight, considering, as Illya said, it was quite predatory, and the fact that she did... Rainbow Dash has been violated by this thing in her mind, and yet Twilight decided to be physical with her without permission. Felt wrong, and I almost didn't want Twilight to be rewarded for that. So I was kind of glad that it didn't turn into, oh yes, now I love you.
Yeah.
I guess they mean it wasn't resolved in the fact that it wasn't really majorly brought up again other than in part 5. Because it was in part, I don't remember if it was part 8 or 9 or 10 when Fluttershy and Twilight had that conversation. It was brought up again and there was closure on it, but like you said, because of the build-up that it got and the just out of nowhere-ness of it, maybe people feel like it should have had more to it. It should have had a bigger conclusion. It should have been brought up again in the way that it was brought up in part 5, instead of, oh yeah, we'll be friends. Oh yeah, she doesn't feel the same way. I'm fine with that. The end. That's done. Okay, we got the shipping out of the way. Let's move on.
She did consider it, though. I mean, right in the beginning, when she had to confront Pinkie Pie and Twilight came out and thought it was her talking to her. But right before that, she had been, mulling over the idea of the possibility.
Right.
Well, I hadn't thought about it before.
I think
I'll think about it.
People who were unsatisfied or dissatisfied with the resolution as it was might have been Twilight Dash shippers in that they weren't satisfied with, oh, Rainbow Dash now thinks, yes, Twilight, I love you. Or if they just wanted it completely denied of, they wanted it in the finale, the conclusion. The same way that there was a resolution to Luna's story, that we did have that little epilogue with Celestia that gave some closure to it. There wasn't a similar weight given to the romance aspect. Considering how much importance it had been given in the earlier part of the story, I don't think there would have been the same complaint if it had been just a little side idea, rather than... when the comic was first being released, that kiss was at the bottom of a page, and there were weeks between pages. So for a long time, people did not know what was going to happen. It ended on a kiss. So you don't do that. You don't take advantage of the page-turning effect unless it's important. So... Any got anything else to say about it?
It sort of was.
I've got to say there was a moment of shipping that I don't think anybody else would even remember until I say it, but I found it fucking hilarious, was the taco ponies.
What was it?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I wanted Twilight to scream so badly, I'm gay, and then run into the house.
Yeah. The taco ponies, for anybody who's forgotten it, when Rainbow Dash has run away from the restaurant, just before Twilight finds her and they have their smooch, Twilight asks, well, she asks for help. There's a couple of ponies who run a taco stall who, I think one of them I ended up just calling Sombrero, and the other one was Bill. Yeah, Bill the pony!
Hello, I am Sombrero, and what is your name?
Sombrero, Bill.
Well, Frodo left me behind.
I think that might have been the
No
author's
relation to
actual
King
comments.
Sombrero, mind you.
That's my new favorite part of the entire comic dub.
Yeah, I mean,
I want a sequel of the Adventures of Sombrero and Bill.
Yes.
Please make it a thing.
I mean, Narrator Pony and Mr. Team Idris, the male half of Team Idris, played those characters, and Team Idris does go through his recordings, and then you just hear him go, "This guy is not a very nice guy, is he?" He's like, there's two ponies crying and screaming running past, and he thinks, this is the opportunity to hit on one of them!
Yes!
Oh my god.
Well,
Although
Rainbow
that
Dash
said, Twilight does
in
in
the shower.
fact take her lead from that, because she does the same thing a few minutes later.
Rainbow
It's
Dash is
just
crying
like-
in her
it's just
shower,
like-
and she
Yep.
puts a necklace on her and gives her a smooch.
But yeah, I adore them. There were side characters who were in like 2 pages of the comic, but I loved them. It's like one of them just going, "That's not how you approach women." And the other one's going, "Why not? They're vulnerable. That's the right time to approach them, isn't it?" I mean, that's an actual line. So in fact, it wasn't
That
vulnerable,
cracks
it was,
me up.
It's like,
didn't one of
it's the
them
best
mention,
time when they're
like-
confused. It's like, that was just said.
Didn't one of them mention, like, I don't think she swings that way or something?
Yeah, it's like, you're better off
It was
out
something
of
like
that
that.
one. It's like,
I
you're both
so
crazy.
badly
You're
wanted
better
it.
off out of that.
I so badly wanted Twilight to just be like, just build up anger and then scream, "I'm gay," and then just run off and
Yes.
Stallions, run away.
You can take this part out, but I just want to say real quick, I find it funny that Twilight ran by a taco stand and she's gay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
You
was,
can take that out. I just wanted to point that out.
Oh, yeah.
I'm leaving that in.
I love
Settle.
Okay.
I love taco ponies. Wasn't one of them
Hopefully
just
they
like,
don't sell quesadillas.
he's a nice guy, but he's an idiot?
Yep.
Yeah.
Because that could be the real reason why she don't like him. Quesadillas.
So
This
cheesy.
comic is full of these little side characters who, like, they're just there and gone, but they're whole characters. I think at one point the pony selling carrots at the stall is so verbal that he doesn't even notice that Fluttershy has left. And the other one
Wasn't
goes,
there?
And
Yeah.
there's a
No-
whole character.
No
at
one's
Will.
mentioned.
And then you
No
go,
one's mentioned the fact. Is this ever going to go
Take
ahead,
3.
please?
Good.
No one's mentioned what, Illya?
I was just going to say that they just sort of blew past the idea that Equestria has a space program.
Yeah.
A couple of astronauts, just
Yeah.
How
Well,
else
Astral
did they
Ponies-
get to the moon?
Yeah. and they do mention that they've got a laser. I was like, maybe we'll actually get
That's
to
right.
use this laser for once. What?
Casual-
Little do you know
casual
that,
laser.
that she was actually the test subject for getting to the moon, and that she just got stuck there.
Also,
Like, yes,
didn't-
we're working on it right now, Princess. Everyone
Was-
take a 1,000-year break.
The
wasn't
page
there also a
that's
Bear
on-
Grylls? Bear Grylls
Yes, I was
pony?
saying, that page 75 of the entire comic, and it stands out in my mind because there were so many voice actors I had to recruit just for like one line each in that. But like, the pony on the tannoy from the Weather Patrol just says things like, can the Rainbow Factory please stop stealing the donuts out of the break room?
I forgot about that.
It's like little notes like that. It's like, everybody's on shift until further notice, and someone outside just goes, oh, really?
You know what, Scribbler? You just gave me an idea for a picture.
Oh,
Just like
God.
you holding a jar, and it just has the name voice actors on it. It's just a bunch of people in the thing.
My favorite one will still be Bear Grylls the pony.
Bear Grylls pony. Yes, I got Reverb to play that one because he loves Bear
Reverb
Grylls.
was amazing. As Bear
He
Grylls
ends with, better do something stupid. So, yeah, that's
stupid.
These background characters are all the way through, but there's one prominent background character that he's not a note on the itinerary, but he should have been, and that is Quill the librarian, because he
Yes.
keeps coming back. And I
Yes.
thought maybe he was like an established fanon character, but it turns out that this is the only place that he appears, and yet it feels like there's so much backstory to this random side character.
And
So-
shipping.
And shipping with him
Yep.
and Celestia, yeah.
Shipping.
Although they do address that because he gets really flustered and just goes, what? No, you don't think? Oh, you're joking. I didn't know you could joke.
Yeah.
Celestia
Celestia, I didn't
Trolestia at her
make
finest.
jokes.
Yeah. I love the fact she
Trolestia.
jokes about you can't get enough of me, can you? And he just spills his tea. He's like, what?
What? His lines
thought
are
it
just
was so
like,
adorable.
we miss lunch. We miss lunch.
And it's also,
Yes. He's like, if we're doing this, can we have an early lunch? And then you hear him in the bar afterwards going, if it's earlier this evening, does that mean earlier happy hour? Yeah. Oh yeah.
All he cares about is food and alcohol.
Yeah, Dr. Wolf was great as him.
Yes.
Yeah, that mellifluous tone set against the fact that this is clearly like a drunken work-shy person.
Yep.
I also found it entertaining hearing him say, like, yeah, awesome.
Yeah, just, like, Dr. Wolf.
Certain mannerisms is hilarious.
But that was one of the reasons that I asked Dr. Wolf to play him, is because the cognitive dissonance between his voice and this character struck me as being quite funny, and the character seems to have been designed for levity.
It fits.
It does.
But I found myself really liking Quill, and he has such an interesting character design. It's almost edgelord.
Yeah!
It's almost with the broken horn, and the fact that he can't turn off his magic.
Yeah.
It's like Tempest Shadow before there was Tempest Shadow, except snarkier and more into books.
Yeah.
It did feel like he was a character from his own story who just, like, wandered into the film lot of this one and got absorbed into it.
Guess I'm here now.
Yep, don't mind me.
I kept expecting another art from that. From Quill.
Yeah.
Just didn't say it.
Yeah, I expected some kind of comic, because the artist Seventozen, or however you pronounce it, did start a prequel of Luna and Parthus when they first met, but it was unfinished and he's now left the fandom, so it's never going to be finished. But I would have liked rather than that, because I think Luna and Parthus' relationship was quite well outlined anyway. I would have liked the background of who the heck is Quill? Because clearly he was the librarian when Twilight was a student there, and he has a prior relationship with Twilight because he references her. He says, like, she brought me this fairy tale book of old grim fairy tales because she knew I'd like it. It's like, well, clearly this character has connections with the main cast. We never see them interact, but he's part of the fabric of the background that is Equestria, and I love stuff like that. But it was kind of nice that he didn't take over the story. Like,
I think so.
As much as I wanted to know more about him, I think he was used just enough that we understood who he was and what he was for. Because he was, in some places, he was another pony for Celestia to talk to get her thoughts out loud, so that we weren't constantly reading speech bubbles. Or thought bubbles, sorry.
Well, I think they ended it really nicely with him, with that little joke. That little sort of in-joke was a wonderful way to move away from Quill.
The fact that he acknowledged that he was probably going to be shit with Celestia, and he just jokes about it, and he goes,
that was great.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Commence the shipping!
I love the fact that they did undercut any shipping before it happened, just like Celestia going, I've never had anybody be this nice to me before without wanting something. You can't get enough of me. And he nearly loses his shit and falls off the balcony.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, as far as background characters go, the Taco Ponies and Quill, I did adore them. Background art in this comic was just really fun, especially in the latter pages, which segues nicely onto part 7 of our itinerary, which was discussion of how the art style changed over time. Because I did have to put in a title card in the first couple of episodes saying, stick with it, the first art style is really rough. But it gets a lot better. And by the end, it was phenomenally well drawn. But what do we think about the way the art style changed over time? Because you can definitely see the progression of Seventozen as an artist.
Well, I'd like to ask, is that actually the same artist that did the first part, that did it all the way through?
Yep, he did it all the way through.
He improved that much in the comic?
Yep. He
That's
improved
outstanding.
the course of, I think, it started in 2012, the comic, and I think it ended in either 2014 or 2015. So this was like 3 years worth of art improvement before your eyes.
I had 3 favorite panels in the whole comic. The first one was actually in his very early art style when Rainbow Dash was in the bed. And I thought to myself that it was so wonderfully drawn to be so primitive that I've actually thought about having it printed and put on my wall next to my other things. It's very roughly drawn Rainbow Dash laying in the bed, having a nightmare or whatever. And then there was a part where, much later on when the art improved, where Celestia and Luna were out on the balcony, and Celestia her whole long body was stretched out, and she was looking over the balcony. I thought it was one of the most beautiful depictions of Celestia that I've ever seen in a comic. And then towards the end, when they were deep into the Parthus stuff, and some of the panels looked like they were straight out of Marvel comics. Just beautiful backgrounds and wonderful perspective. I'm floored by the fact that it's the same person.
Yeah, I mean, I do have a favourite panel, but it's an odd one to say. That it's when Celestia gets the letter telling her what's going on, and we don't see her face for a long time. At the bottom of the page, we see her for the first time, but we see also her bookshelf in the background. And there's just random things on her bookshelf, including a whole cake. And
you can never have enough cake.
There's little touches like that, or the fact that in Twilight's bathroom, that was a really interesting design for a pony bathroom, which I really liked. The fact that it's a wooden tub with a shower on the side, and it's surrounded by plants, and things have got there's like text written into certain things. The names of the books that were scattered around were always funny.
There was one just called Ah!
Yeah.
Yes!
Yeah.
I think I even commented on that one.
That's my favorite book. I want to know what's the book called Ah!
And the best part, that's in one of the panels just after Twilight and Rainbow Dash have been pushed off the balcony. There's a book called Ah!
That's just like the artist just taking out their anger after drawing so much.
Yeah.
Existential crisis.
I want to know what the book Ah is about. I want to know what the context of Ah book is.
It's so consuming. Ah!
Getting rid of your inner demons through screaming.
Yes.
Yep.
But it truly is some beautiful, beautiful work. I mean, what do the rest of you guys think about the art and how it progressed?
I love when Luna entered the dream realm.
Yes.
Yeah?
I did make a comment that it looked like the kind of like the style from Arthur, the kids show, a little bit, kind of. I thought that was really
the very round faces, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I thought it was.
I love seeing art improvement, and I love seeing the progress. Yes, the first few pages or parts are rough, but you can see in some situations, like there's one part, I believe in part 2, where the art jumps from what appears to be like traditional and it's scanned into the computer like with colored pencils or something. It jumps from traditional to digital. Like, and you can tell.
Mm-hmm.
And from that point forward, like, you can see improvement by every part, like every video that is made, and you can see the improvement. And by the time you reach part 4 or 5, from then on, like, the detail and everything is constantly being like top. Like, you don't think you could see any better, and then they pull off this amazing background that's like so pretty. Like, the backgrounds in there, like, I agree with what you're saying with the backgrounds. There's so much detail and they're so well done. Coming from someone who can't draw backgrounds for shit, like, I applaud whoever took the time to create
generally
those.
just can't even draw shit. So.
Yeah, when Luna enters in Rainbow Dash's mind, in that it just reminds me something out of a Tim Burton movie.
I love it a lot.
Yeah, there was a very steampunk edge to the way the Dream Realm was drawn that I found very interesting, that especially because, again, canon had gone this odd way of the dream world is a starscape with a path of mist and almost like YouTube windows in a corridor, or doors into people's dreams. But this took this almost, like I said, steampunk-esque route with it, that we had this landscape dotted about with huge pipes, and when I was making the soundscape to go underneath all the Dream World episodes, I chose this underwater noise and the sound of an old windmill and a conveyor belt in the background, and it's underneath the music for all of the Dream World episodes, because that was the impression I was getting from the Dream World, is that you were deep in a watery steampunk world.
Yeah, your background sounds for that were excellent.
Amazing.
That really sparked the dialogue. It was wonderful.
And I also liked how there was the part where Luna comes up to near a phonograph, and I heard that Mew's rendition of "Sweet Dreams" was playing in the background. I'm like, I see what you did there.
Hey, you are literally the only person who did.
Yep, and also the backgrounds are also they look very Lovecraftian too, especially the design of Parthis and the monster that both Luna and Parthis confronted. I'm like, that's like something out of a Lovecraft horror. It's like so cool.
The designs are amazing.
I mean, Parthis' design, as an OC, I've never seen an OC quite like him. It could have so easily been too edgelord, but it wasn't. It still fitted. And the fact that after his trial, all of his little feathery things were cut off made him look so vulnerable.
I know.
So cute. He was a cute little thing.
He did look like a hyena pony.
Little feather ball.
I'll admit that.
Hyena pony.
Hyena pony.
A couple of people pointed that out and went, it's not just me then. Yeah, he does look a little hyena pony. But he was...
See, that's what I thought he was when I first saw him.
It's like, well, what would you make a sentient virus look like? The hyena pony, of course, naturally. The fact that
obviously
the giant beast that Rainbow Dash is comprised of was wolf-like. I thought that was an interesting design choice that I kind of struggled to understand why. It looked incredibly cool, but I didn't think with this particular artist, with all the care that he'd taken with all the backgrounds and all the choices he'd made so far, there was no way that was a random choice. I mean, we're not talking about Michael Bay. It looks cool, so who cares if it makes sense? So what do we think the reason was why that final monster of RD's imagination was a wolf? Why do we think they went that way?
Because wolves are scary.
I guess to give it a more of a predatory sense of just how Rainbow's mind was. Like Parthis was, the way how Parthis was manifesting into Pinkie was very predatory, like almost like a wolf, and it got so bad and it just manifests itself into its own fear. So that's
you think about it, that's about all it could be. It couldn't be a large cat. Because that would be... Yeah. It wasn't crafty, wily, it was just savage. And that's what it is.
Again with the cats.
It's a beast. It's just the antithesis of, like, what a beast is in, like, people's mind. Like a wolf, like like a big, massive, ferocious thing covered in hair.
Exactly.
And
like claws, teeth.
It just had to be intimidating, I guess. It's like the final boss in a video game. If it's big and has teeth and looks intimidating, then...
And
it can be.
It definitely did with the all the screaming ponies all over it. The little dull-eyed, hollow-eyed ponies all around it.
I love the way the ponies were numbered. They had numbers. It was kind of...
Yeah, I thought that was very creepy when you realise... That was the moment that I thought, before he got to Luna, Parthis had a lot of victims. And that kind of hammered it home of... No, really, he needs to be punished because this is going to be a cycle that continues otherwise.
And they didn't have names.
It's been going on for so long.
Yeah, the fact that they didn't have names, that hadn't occurred to me till you just said it. That's a good point. That they were just numbers.
It just shows that at the end of the day, it's just a pony. It's just a number to Parthis. Like, no matter who he kills, it'll just be... Oh, that one's on my kill list now. The number's going to go up.
I hit double digits today. Move on to the next one.
I've hit my quota.
And it does kind of... It lends itself to why Parthis made the decision that he did, because he apologised to them at the very end. I mean, the RD Imagination Beast was angry at the fact that he felt he could talk to them, but he wanted to apologise. And it just kind of... It lends itself to why he did what he did, that he knew he couldn't be allowed to survive, or it would keep happening. And just that design choice really helped to hammer that decision home.
And also, since I mentioned the music of Rockin' to Insanity, I also liked how Scribbler, when Luna and Celeste were having their conversation, I heard the piano and cello version of Numb. I'm like, it fits!
Yep. I did try and make some of the music choices. It's like with a comic like this, if the artist had taken so much care with the backgrounds, then I couldn't do any less with the soundscape.
Not that version of Numb really fits for that scene, and it makes me feel even immense for the sisters.
Yeah, I mean that. For anybody who wants to listen to more of that was a version by Lucas King, who is a UK pianist who does a lot of very slow, very sad orchestral songs and covers on his channel.
I love his work.
It's absolutely beautiful stuff. But there's actually two versions of Numb in there. Is the piano and cello version, and then just at the end when Luna goes to pieces, it's the full orchestral version that he put up because it's so beautiful.
Yeah, I remember that.
What was the name again? I want to look into that.
Lucas King. If you go to the last part of Rocket to Insanity, there's actually a link in the description to all the music.
Oh, awesome.
Every single thing that I put up, I always credit music so I don't get in trouble.
Yep.
I will also say the last song you put for like the end credits made me cry.
Oh,
that was really sweet.
Yeah.
People love that.
Yeah. That was Josh Woodward, who's one of my favourite royalty-free singers. But the lyrics just seem to fit so well. And the fact that it was so upbeat.
Yes. I really enjoyed that end song.
It did become one of my favourites, because I finished editing the video together when I was up in Karratha over Christmas. So, that one, I was just going around for the rest of the day humming this song, and we ended up putting it on for people to listen to, because people were like, what the hell are you singing? Like, I've got an audience, I don't usually have that when I finished editing. All the music is linked in the description, so if you're interested in hearing that or getting your own version, because like all of it's free to download. It's beautiful stuff. Right, so we're on to part 8. We're sort of getting to the end of the itinerary now, so this is more the open floor segment. When I'd said open floor, I didn't realise that the rest of the discussion was going to be pretty open floor anyway. I have been a bad mod in this.
It's okay.
Pat. Yeah. Is there anything else we've not mentioned so far that anybody would like to bring up that they specifically did or specifically didn't like? Anything we've not discussed so far?
Well, we've
Nothing for
covered
me.
everything.
Not that I can think of.
Nothing for me.
I mean,
Yes.
We've talked about the comic itself, but in the production, I mean, the voice cast generally has been amazing. You guys, the principal cast, were phenomenal, but even the background characters in this were really well acted.
It really was.
Oh yeah.
I was astounded by your Pinkie in particular. Did you do that that hysterical laughter that faded in the comic at the very beginning? The Pinkie Pie crazy laughter?
That is yes.
Because that was crazy. I couldn't believe that came out of the same actress that I always get to do Celestia. It's like, wow.
She's very
what a range. Amazing.
Yeah, and it was after I recorded Silent Ponyville for Goody Serenade and Rocket to Insane for Scribbler, I'm like, and Truth Be Told for Lost Narrator, I'm like, I'm thinking I'd like to voice Pinkie Pie more often, especially in horror stories, because Pinkie's just so enjoyable to voice for.
It was great.
You're very good at it, especially that the divide in Rocket to Insanity between normal Pinkie and Psycho Pinkamina.
Thank you.
It was really kind of eerie when I would be listening to recording, and I could tell just from the tone of your voice which one I was listening to.
It was scary.
Thank you.
Because it did become, like, towards the end I was having to pitch shift you down just because I was trying to make it that Illya's voice was coming in next.
Yeah.
Like, the disguise was slipping. It's like, shit, her Pinkie is way too high to suddenly become Illya's Parthus.
Yep.
Like, I was pitch shift you down, I was pitch shifting Illya up when Luna first finds him in the dream realm. I had to pitch shift you up so fucking much, Illya.
I don't know how you did that. How did you assemble those?
It was the same effect that I use when I'm making changelings and things. That I make a double audio track, and the bottom one I reverse, give it a G-verb, and reverse it again, and give the whole thing a G-verb. And then the top audio track I then pitch shifted way up. I think I actually had to raise your pitch shift by about 60. Usually I have to pitch shift people by 4.
Good gracious. But it really came out well. You did. It was a wonderful effect. I thought, wow, how'd she do this?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that was a challenge, but I think it turned out quite well. The segue between Pinkamina becoming Parthus as the Pinkamina disguise disintegrated. So trying to transition between your two voices was a little bit more of a challenge than I expected it to be.
And it really fits too, because the scene where I was telling Rainbow that you're just a silly little filly fooler, or you're just hiding behind that facade, and then the reveal of the parasite, the Pinkamina's face is just a rot. It looks like a rotting corpse, and like that really fits.
Yeah, the art in that scene is amazing. It's like you look at it and just go, ugh, what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, like, I can't get over complimenting the artwork. Considering that some people literally can't get past episode 1 because they think the art is bad. It's like, you don't know what you're missing, mates.
Yeah, I know.
And there were aspects of the first art that I actually liked. I mean, there were some panels that I liked. I mean, it was amateurish, but it was pretty. I liked some of them.
Considering that it was clearly done by somebody who had never constructed a real comic before, because there's things like some of the panels were too small, sometimes had too much text, or it wasn't quite arranged right, and yet, despite that immaturity, there was still this underlying talent that was there. Like even
there was
at
an
the
artist's
end of
mind.
In it. Yeah, exactly. The composition was still there. It's over the course of the first episode, you can see the improvement between those first couple of panels and the end when Pinkie is stabbed and Rainbow Dash flies away. I mean, there's already elements there of the background ponies and the ambulance, and just little things were already creeping in. So clearly, 7000, even his very inception, had this raw talent squirming to get out.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if anybody's only watched the first part and you have no idea what we're talking about regarding art, watch the second and third parts, because when you start to see the difference in the artwork, it's phenomenal.
Or just skip right to number 10 and then, right to the very end, look at that, and you'll know what's coming and you'll be happy.
Yeah, exactly. When you see how good the end goes.
Then work your way backwards. It's a happy story.
Yeah. Actually, if you think about it, if you watch this story in reverse, it becomes even worse. It's like, we've got a story about how Rainbow Dash, Luna puts a parasite in her mind, and Rainbow Dash then goes and stabs Pinkie.
It ends like the original, dun dun dun.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Well, it ends with cupcakes. Shit! We just reversed the entire It Fic.
What have we done?
So, final point then. Is there anything else anybody else would like to bring up? Not necessarily just likes and dislikes. Anything else that anybody would like to say about Cupcakes, Rocket to Insanity, the comic, or the production that we did?
I just want to mention that Twilight called Rainbow Dash a flyboy.
Voice actor.
Oh god!
You must acknowledge this.
Yes.
I just want to say that I love the fact that Vinyl Scratch was just randomly a character in the background at the cafe.
Yes. Vinyl is best pony.
And yet no Octavia in the whole story. Sad face.
Yeah.
Shed single tear.
Oh, poor widow Squibbler.
Well,
No.
that very last page, I love the fact that when they were doing things as a group, it was things like they went to the cinema together, and there's a zebra just working behind the counter. It's like, yeah,
A zebra.
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 Zebra. Oh, fine, okay.
Zebra.
We'll bring up the accent.
Zebra!
We're gonna American it.
Starts with a Z, not a Z.
Tomato, tomato.
No, Illya, don't betray us Americans.
That is the laugh of a true mastermind.
I think Z was a laundry detergent here for a while.
Really?
When your alphabet becomes a laundry detergent.
Oh my god.
And then millennials start eating it.
No! How dare you!
Oh my god.
You weren't making that up. Somebody actually ate one of those little things. Is that what you're
Oh
saying
no,
to me?
people have been eating them.
Yeah, it's not one
it?
person, it's
It's a
quite a lot
fad?
of people.
Now I'm more scared.
Yep.
I'm staying inside.
Okay, so if you ever get the chance to go to a convention, we find you. We just need to bring a bunch of laundry detergent. Like, take it.
No.
Just take a little little podule things, and just like draw Luna's face on and go, haha, this is the impossible choice.
No, Nightmare
Yep.
Moon.
Oh
That's what
yes.
you need.
And on the
Oh,
back
yes.
is Chrysalis.
I'm
For anybody
a
not in the
little
know,
disturbed.
Illya has a thing about the bad girls.
Oh yeah, all of them. And now I'm crazy crushing on Tempest Shadow, and oh god, she's
Open up your eyes.
amazing. And I had to sing it
Yeah.
because of her.
Yeah, such a good song. Like, before I'd even watched the movie, I'd watched that song quite a few times.
Me too.
It's a great song. It stayed in my head until I sang it. I had to. It was a wonderful composition.
It
I have
really
a
is.
cover of it that I've been meaning to put out, but I haven't
out.
yet.
Do it!
Put it out. Need more.
Hey,
It-
Scribbler,
it's
just
just
so
come
you
out
know,
on
I'm
DVD.
going through with my wall of VA's idea.
Oh, God.
Oh,
So far, I have Reverb, Lost, Mag, K-Bug, and Bray in jars.
Oh, shit. Right,
I
okay.
sent you Reverb.
Right,
You
for
have to
anybody listening
explain
on the
yourself.
podcast, I am going to link these pictures if she sent them to me. So people know
I'm
the
putting them
madness
on.
that
I'm
comes
putting
from
them on a
these
shelf
movies.
right now.
What are you talking about? Voice actors in jars. What?
She's making fan art based on her offhand comment I made earlier.
But you don't have actual people in little jars.
Only
I
pieces
wish
of
I
them.
did. Have little people do my bidding.
It's not anything like they'd miss. It's like left hand, one eye, testicle.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
they're fine.
Really? Okay, we know where your mind went. Okay then.
Right, since we have devolved into talking about me dismembering people, but not the actual story about dismembering, I think it's probably a good idea if we bring this to a close then. We have in fact been in this call for 3 hours and 20 minutes.
pretty much.
Considering I assured you all and went, this shouldn't take more than an hour.
Yep.
So we'll bring up just closing statements and goodbyes. So if I just go to you each in turn, say just your final thoughts on the story, and then we'll finish up with goodbyes. So, Cloudy.
Oh, hi, I'm here. Hello.
I hope
Starting
so.
with you
Are you
each
sure about
time.
that?
I know, it's 12 in the morning, I'm sorry. This was an amazing project to be a part of. You all are so super talented in what you do, and I was honored to work with so many talented people, being a little babu when it comes to voice acting. I appreciate Scribbler offering this role to me. It was so much fun to do. This project was a blast. Everything that we did and everything that the comic creators have done to put this giant thing together has been amazing, and I have no more positive adjectives, so thank you, and this was awesome. Also, RD screaming is hell. I'm done.
Any RD VAs or aspiring RD voice actors, take notes.
Don't do it.
Yeah. You're gonna have
Don't
to
do
scream
it.
and act like you're dying at some point. It's a given.
Yep. I've
Pretty
lost
much.
my free pass on that one, so
I thought you were
I've
gonna say
drank
you
the
lost your
Kool-Aid.
license.
As a
I
matter
was
of
going
interest,
to.
has anybody asked you to do any more RD screaming since then?
I don't believe so. I have had a lot more requests to do Rainbow Dash stuff since then, but no screaming and dying yet, so you're still number one, don't worry.
Woohoo!
Yeah. But, yeah, for anyone who's interested, my voice hates me now, and I'm never doing anything like this again because my voice doesn't like me. Okay, next person. I'm kidding. It was a blast. I just needed a gallon of warm tea and honey afterwards.
Oh, and
the
Shadow, what did you think of your final closing thoughts?
This was definitely one of the best projects I voiced for last year. And I've been appreciating to voice Pinkie a lot more. I'm like, voicing Pinkie is becoming a lot more fun now, especially during the time of Halloween. So, it was a really great project, and so many talented people, and I want to thank Scribbler for having me be a part of this, and it was just fun, and I hope to do more projects like this in the future. So yeah.
Animelodie?
I had a lot of fun on this. I really look forward to doing something like this again. However, I've learned from experience not to do it all at once. And I've been wanting to say this, like, all night. Cloudy, anytime that I hear your voice, like, right now, I swear I keep mistaking you for Magpie. You sound almost dead on like her. Like, it's so close.
I have never heard that, but thank you. I take that as a compliment.
Can you guys hear it?
I can hear it, yeah.
Yeah, now you've said it.
Don't tell Mag.
No
Don't
one will
tell
be
Mag.
able to unhear that now.
Magpie,
Yeah.
we have your double.
No. No, you don't. I'm hiding.
Now we just.
I'm leaving the fandom.
No,
Shit, I'm
don't
leaving
leave
the fandom,
we
guys.
need you.
We know who you are.
Well, thanks, guys. Now I'll never be able to unhear Magpie every time I record, so.
Wow. My plan has come to
Magpie's
fruition.
vectors and have you just
Love you,
say
Magpie.
things that
I
she'd
love
never
you, Mag.
say.
We love you, Magpie.
We love
Here's
you,
the thing, though.
Magpie.
Cloudy, can you do a raspberry? There we go. There's the proof
Yep.
she's not a magpie.
That wasn't Mag. That wasn't her, but that was me.
Wait, here's
Rob.
what. Wait, I got you.
There we go.
I
I like how she got so mad at herself that she did a raspberry once.
yeah.
I saw her bloopers for No Place Like Home and tried to do a raspberry for No Place Like Home. She had a mental breakdown. I felt so bad.
Oh, I didn't mean a raspberry.
She's so
Oh, you poor baboo.
Thing is, that
Like-
scene didn't actually require a raspberry. Like, I could have taken it out. I didn't realise it was going to be that big of a thing for her.
She's so cute.
She is.
Yes, I
She's
love
like so cute.
it. We love you, Magpie.
We love you,
you watch
Magpie.
We're
That's
sorry
why we
for the
torture you.
Magpie,
She's gonna
if you're
watch
watching this. Magpie, if you're watching this, we love you.
We do. But we're not sorry for the raspberries, except
No.
we are a little bit.
Yeah, sorry,
No, we're
not
not.
sorry.
Scribbler made me do it.
It's not just going to be a
Shit.
thing now. It's like whenever somebody does something terrible, like, Scribbler maybe do it.
Yeah,
Yes.
Scribbler made me raspberry. Mag,
Scribbler
I'm
made
You
sorry.
heard of Blame A and Y? Well, now we have Blame Scribbler.
Vannamelon, that's been a meme for 2 or 3 years now, I think.
Scribbler
Scribbler.
made them do it,
Scribbler
and
did.
I followed.
Scribbler.
So, final thoughts then. Last one. Ilya.
Final thoughts. Scribbler made me do it.
That's all I have to say. It's actually true.
It's actually
No,
accurate.
I went when I approached the project. I went from WTF. That was like probably the first thing when I first looked at it, and then I went from there to, good Lord, this is huge. It's the biggest comic I've ever seen, and ended up with, wow, this is incredible. This is really great. And finally, it was like, I'm proud to have been part of this. There was a range of emotions, almost like the characters throughout the thing. I was just like, whoa, this got really good. So I really thoroughly enjoyed it, and I thought, wonderful all-star cast, just fantastic acting all around. And Twilight, I will tell anybody, and I always tell them the same thing, is that I think you do Twilight better than, what's her name? Good God, what's her name?
Tara Strong?
Thank you. Good Lord. I think
I genuinely
Took you a while.
put you in that
Forgettable
spot.
character number 3.
Took you all enough.
Seriously,
I
though, I
was
think you did- I
genuinely
think you-
worried what name you were going to say. Then we're like, shh, don't say anyone I know.
I
Or I actually thought you were
Well,
going to say
you
me. I'm
obviously
like,
do a better Twilight than Wooten.
I saw.
I thought you were going to. Ilya, I thought you were going to say Maya. I'm like, it's okay.
Awkward.
I had a terrible break off it.
Competition
Oh.
over who is best book first.
It's okay. You like
Horse
to.
is best book
It's
horse.
okay. You like me as Celestia anyway. That's cool. That's cool.
I'm old. Deal with it.
And I'll just be stuck as Rainbow Dash forever. Cool.
You're not old,
Scream,
you're spirit.
You're stuck as screaming, dying Rainbow Dash.
I can't anymore. I can't even do it anymore.
all the crying you had to do.
Uh,
I love
So
that
much.
moment you said, "Oh fuck, I'm crying again."
It's like, give me a break.
it got to the point where I was just, I'm done. I got so done.
I know how
Just
you
like
feel, 'cause
Rainbow Dash.
Page 3
like-
of crying, you get to the point where it's just like, why? Why?
or I had to record all those hysterical laughs. I'm like, I'm so out of breath. I gotta do this take.
Yeah, I coughed so much. I went through so much tea. I was heaving. I was like, it was so.
I'll have to send you some more of those Dudley Herbal sweets.
Yes, please do. If you ever have me do anything like this again, I'm going to need a Like a trunk full of them. So many. It's not even funny. I'm not even joking.
I figured out why I couldn't think of Tara Strong's name.
Why?
When I brought her image into my mind, I couldn't get my eyes to come up to her face. They were just... Is that Adrienne Barbeau? No, that's
Gee, I wonder where your eyes were.
Her feet, clearly, her feet.
It's on her legs, obviously.
Kneecaps.
Oh, yeah,
Her
sure.
beautiful kneecaps.
There's her knees, yes.
Sure.
I think that's a pretty good note to leave it on.
Yep.
All right.
When all else fails, focus on the knees.
Yes. Right, thank you very much for listening to us. This really was a babbly old babble scribbler. Go and watch the
Yes,
comic
it was.
if you haven't already. We've completely spoiled it, but hopefully we've at least piqued your interest. Be lovely to each other, and goodbye, everyone. You say bye-bye?
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Pinkie is best pawn.
Except RTI is.
My butt's sore.
Please tell me that got on the recording.
It's still recording.
No.
It's immortalized.
Just cut it off right after he says that.